when I was in my psychodiagnosis and assessments class, which I had to take in my master's programming, I had this wonderful professor, Seth Westcott, shout out, but he did a lot of like the higher psychological trauma assessments and had worked with legitimate psychopaths, with legitimate narcissists. Um, when we talked about like the criteria for diagnosing someone as a narcissist with narcissistic personality disorder, he made the statement that it's kind of like ADHD. We all have the traits to some extent. It's just not until you get to the disordered that it's messing up all of these different traits or all of these different facets of your life that it becomes a disorder. And he even went so far as to say, you know, like as a therapist, you have to be a bit narcissistic. You have to believe that these people can come and sit in your presence for 50 minutes and heal themselves because of you. Like there's a part of you that like, and every single person has that in some way or shape, right?
Yep.
Like just like you said, there's that continuum of some people are like, yep, got to put on my confidence and I'm going to, you know, walk into this room and I'm going to own it because I can, right? Like there's a little bit of that. And then there is also that other side of like, there's people that are just going to fawn, right? Because that is their survival mechanism. So to answer your question, yes, I absolutely agree. Like I think that I hesitate to be like, yes, the person that you're dealing with is absolutely a narcissist. I think that there is a lot of narcissistic abuse because it is abuse from a person acting from a place of narcissism, but they could be on the spectrum way over here where they're overcompensating for whatever they need. The thing that I see in my work is they're overcompensating for their trauma. It was done to them, right? Like that's a big theme of like, it was done to them. They don't know any different. And that's how they're parenting, or that's how they're living day to day. It's a survival mechanism almost. And I do think that people can get into that. Like it's really easy once you put a label on it to really lean into that label, but it can be also detrimental because if you're just like, yep, this happened to me because they're a narcissist. Okay, but what work are you doing to push through that?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And there is like, yes, it's terrible that this happened to you. And yes, you should absolutely feel the validation and now having an answer of why this happened to you. But also don't let that continue to drag you down. Like it is okay to step out of this and say, you know, I am a narcissistic abuse survivor and I am moving forward, right? Like don't put yourself into the box and just stay there because it's easy and it's safe, and that's the same but a different box that they've been trying to put you in all the time.
Hey there, and welcome to the Reclamation Room. I'm Ashana, and I'm so glad you're here. This is a space for women reclaiming themselves after narcissistic abuse. If you've ever felt like you were too much, not enough, or both at the same time, you're in the right place. I created this podcast because I know what it's like to lose yourself in overgiving, overperforming, and still wondering why it never felt like love. I've walked through trauma, toxic relationships, and the long road of self-reclamation, and I'm here to walk with you. In this podcast, we'll explore what it means to come home to yourself after the confusion and chaos of narcissistic abuse. Some episodes will be solo, others will include guest interviews. All of them will be honest, grounded, and deeply compassionate. So, whether you're just realizing what you've lived through, or you've been on this path and you're ready for the next layer of your healing, you are welcome here. This is not about perfection. This is about reclamation.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Reclamation Room, the podcast for women healing from narcissistic abuse. I'm here with my dear friend, Emily. We go way back. Emily Wheeler, she is an actual real life practicing therapist, super cool, but she's also a hell of a human. And I'm so excited for you guys to hear what we dig into in this episode. But I just want to say, Emily, thank you for coming on the show. And I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks for having me. I was super excited when you posted it. Like I immediately was like, heck yeah, let's do this.
Good. Okay. Well, let's dig in. I see your parents all the time at the school with Brooke and her kids.
Oh yeah. April came out as non-binary, and
I saw that.
of course, knowing April, that's also one of those
Makes,
things that's like, oh, that makes
yeah,
sense.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and mom has gone back and forth on like, sometimes she'll use they them pronouns, sometimes she won't, and like won't apologize. But for the most part, she like April was like, I'm cutting you off. Like you either use they them or you don't get access to me and my kids.
Mm.
And suddenly she was okay with it.
How about your dad?
I mean, dad just doesn't really talk to either of us. Mom is the one that keeps us in the loop. Dad is just very, listen, you want to talk about people that should have had a diagnosis? My dad is autistic as fuck.
I could have told you that 15 years ago.
Oh, I know. Oh, and now whenever I have clients that come in, like that have a neuroatypicality, I'm like, which parent is it? And I went, my dad. But yeah, no. So it's not that he like doesn't talk to us, he just doesn't talk to anybody.
Yeah, yeah, he's
So,
there.
and if we reach
I,
out, he'll text back and
yeah.
like,
I remember
every
I
now and then he'll
vibed
send us
so
something
hard with your
random.
dad. There's not much there to vibe with, but like I
Yeah.
did. I was like, yeah, man, I totally get it. You're so cool to
Yeah.
be around. You're such a calming presence.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's still that way. Just had like half of his ear cut off with a melanoma skin cancer,
Wow.
and was just like, I gotta wear this damn cuff. And like that's the worst part of it. Not like, hey, I almost lost some lymph nodes and like had this life-threatening cancer, but I gotta wear this
Yeah.
damn cuff and I gotta take 2 days off of work. He only took one.
Oh my gosh, your family was always so fun to me.
Yeah.
Funny
Well,
and fun.
and yeah. And now that I'm an adult and have seen other family structures, and like now that I also understand like the neuroscience behind other family structures, me and Sam joke around that my childhood was rainbows and unicorns, like 100%. Like I had the most stable childhood of pretty much everyone I know. And then on top of that, like somehow of that, like I'm all of my friends, I collect my like high trauma friends somehow everywhere I go. And I'm like, I'll be the
Yes.
stability that you've not had
Yeah.
before. Come to
Which
me.
is hilarious because you just don't seem, this is going to come out wrong. And I promise you,
Oh no.
you don't seem like you would be the stable friend. Like you're so
Yeah.
blah, like,
Yeah.
and it's so comforting to us.
Yeah.
Hey, oh my gosh, kindred spirit. Wait a minute. This feels good.
Yeah.
This feels
Yeah.
really good.
It's 1,000% that like I know stability. And because I've known that stability and because realistically, because mom and dad did talk to us about emotions and we're like, you can have your emotions, you just have to like have them appropriately.
Yep.
Like once we had those conversations, I was like, hold on, you're saying that I can be like every bit of me, and like I describe myself as extra because I mean, girl, that's me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just describe myself as extra, and the only reason that I am able to be that is because like I did have the stability of my parents, my grandparents, my family, my friends, even that were just like, you do you, boo.
Yep. Yep. I remember watching you guys communicate and being like, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is
Hmm.
oddly familiar, especially you and April.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I like it. But then you still accepted each other and like it felt safe too. And I was like, okay, I need to take notes on this.
Yeah, no, and that I feel like that has been one of the biggest pieces that's led me to where I'm at is like I had stability and safety and security, and now I can be that for other people.
Mhm.
Even when for so long my brain was like, there's no stability in the world, everything is crazy. Like, having a kid
So,
at
okay,
14
why was
and
your brain like that, do you think? Like, what have you pinpointed?
ADHD.
Yeah.
ADHD,
Interesting.
and the really interesting thing that I like to throw in there is religious trauma.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
told that I
yeah.
need to fit in a box, and I did
Hmm.
not fit in that box. And I thought that I couldn't do the religion and not fit in the box. But turns out, like, you can have a religion
Hmm.
and still be exuberant.
Yeah, yeah. I think you were the first friend that, because I also grew up in that religious box. And there's a lot
Hmm.
of people who like didn't know what life was like for me growing up. Everyone was like, oh my God, they're so cool. They're so amazing. I'd be like, yeah, in front of you, but it's different when people aren't
Hmm.
there, right?
Yep.
The violence alone was just like night and day different people. But the church, all the churchy stuff that went with that. Like I even like told the people at church what was happening at home, and they went and talked to my dad about it. And I'm like,
Yep.
so that wasn't a safe place. And you were the first friend that I was like, some religion, some authenticity, some. So I didn't know it at the time, but you were very much like a model for me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways that, like, other than the fact that you were the smart friend that I needed to cheat off of because I wasn't ever doing my homework. There were a lot of ways that like I still found a lot of like solace in our friendship, right? Because you were that friend that showed me like you can be yourself, even if that means potentially being in danger, right? Um, and I don't know, I was always like very protective of you just because like, I don't know, like of course you would say things that were happening at home every now and then, and I never didn't believe you because like why would you make that up, right? Like, I don't know.
Random.
Other people, I feel like it was easy for them to act like it wasn't happening because your parents were cool in front of people, but I don't know. I had no doubt ever that what you were saying was 100% the truth. And I remember saying something to my parents about it one time. I said something, or I remember it very vividly. We were sitting in their bedroom. Dad was on his side of the bed, mom was on her side of the bed, and they were sitting there. And that's where we just used to sit and chat.
That's
And I
so cool
remember
to me.
walking in. Oh yeah. Well, and I just walked in and I was standing against the rail and I was like, I think she might be in trouble. Like, I'm a little scared. And they were like, okay, what's going on? Right. And they were just like, you can always tell her that she's welcome here. You can, try to encourage this. They were like, but realistically, you can't do anything. Right.
Yeah.
Like, other than if we could, they had asked if I wanted to make a report. And at the time, you were like, don't get DCF involved anymore or whatever. What
Yeah.
is it in the DHR?
DHR. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah. And if it makes you feel any better, now being in Kansas, I've worked with both Kansas and Missouri's DHR, DCF, and I can't remember what Missouri calls it. They're all terrible. They're all terrible.
That's one of
So,
the things that we're hoping to kind of start to dig into with the Break the Silence Alabama work, because domestic
yeah,
violence is not just between women and men, it affects children too, which people are always like,
absolutely.
"Oh my gosh, that never occurred to me." And it's like they're the long-term victims. Like, why do you think this is
Hmm.
perpetuating? Like, but we're
Right.
hoping to kind of start digging into some of these nuances and hopefully changing things. We'll see. We're
Yeah.
hoping.
Well, I know that in Kansas we're a privatized system. There's only 7 states in the US that is privatized. So I wouldn't suggest going that route if it ever
Interesting.
comes to that. And it's as awful as you would think it is.
Yeah. Wow.
They're more competing for contracts than,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about outcomes and all of that stuff, which
So
is
awful.
why we had just a few years ago a kid that had literally been locked in cages. Yep. And they had had like 50 reports and never substantiated it until the police like showed up to raid the house for something. And like, oh, hey, there's this super malnourished kid in a cage that needs immediate medical attention.
See, stuff like this
So,
gets to me. Like with my personal experience with DHR here, we had years and years and years of reports with pictures of bruises, with police being called, with social workers speaking to children, hearing them say, yes, we don't want to go there. It's not a good place. It's scary. They're mean, blah, blah, blah. This was documented like for 5 or 6 years straight. And then there was one report that was made and the person did not like that was going to follow them around. So they went to Montgomery and requested a change in the DHR file and they changed it. They changed the DHR file. And so they were able to, the new supervisor here in Calhoun County wrote in the
mhm.
file that all of those instances seemed to be not indicated and they seemed to be coached by the mother all of those years. And I've never met this person in my life. I've never spoken with this person. My children have never met this person. But because that was written in the file and shown in court as evidence, the end, nail in the coffin, which is
Yeah,
insane to me. Because even going to Montgomery and getting them to do a review and to change what was in there, there should be more interviews. There should be more investigation.
right.
It shouldn't just be, oh, you don't like that this is going to follow you around forever. Okay, we'll erase it. Not
Yeah.
indicated. Mom made it up.
Well, and anytime it's so terrible. Anytime they're like, mom is coaching, mom is coaching. Why are we not believing children when they say things dozens of times?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, why are we not assuming that there is some truth that a child is saying? Now, I also understand, like, there is the whole, like, yes, there are some children that are coached by a mother to say something, but in those, it would be easier for us to err on the side of caution than not, because what are we
Yeah.
losing if we don't, right? What stability and safety are these kids with their young developing brains? What are they not getting? And what are we teaching them about the world at large, right? We're teaching them that it's not safe. We're teaching them that their brains don't matter, that their safety doesn't matter. So of course it just perpetuates the cycle, right? Because then they don't have safety at home, they don't have safety from their parents. They go out into the world and they seek partners that are not safe because that's all they've ever known. For them, the chaos is their stability. It's comfortable for them.
Yeah. And I think you said something really important, like err on the side of caution. What do we have to lose, right? Like use a little bit of resources to investigate each of these a little bit further, but potentially save the future of children, like preserve their childhood a little bit longer. Like, and okay, a couple may fall through the cracks but I think that's lesser than the ones that are falling through the cracks now in the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
It makes logical sense.
It's really upstream. It's really an upstream thought of if you put the extra effort into really check into the things that are being substantiated, then these children grow up feeling safe. They are safe. They look for more safe relationships, right? But when you deter and then they lose that safety, like you're going to have their children coming in. You're going to have their children's children coming in, right? Like it's very cyclical. And so when you think like, hey, we need to be ahead of this. Yeah, but you're not willing to you're not willing to spend resources on these children that have been reported 5, 6, 7 times. Yeah. I know in Kansas when I used to teach TIPS MAP, which is the class that you have to take before becoming a foster parent. And it was always really interesting to me. People were like, why would you ever give the kids back in these like horrible situations? And what it boils down to is it's their right to be a parent, right? And you have to, without any shadow of a doubt, that they don't have that right to parent. And that's really hard to prove because you have to give chance after chance after chance at reunification, because of course it's better if a child can stay with their parent, but is it better for a child to stay with an abusive parent than go into the system?
Right.
And I know in Kansas right now, I can't honestly say that it's better for a child to go into the system than to stay with an abusive parent because the system is equally as abusive. I have a 14-year-old that when she came to us at 8, we were her 13th placement. 13 homes from the age of 1.5 to 8.
Poor baby.
She's doing good now.
Yay.
Now that she has realized what stability and safety is. And there are still days where we're challenged. She's still in therapy, but when she first came to us, she had no idea what stability was. And interesting thing for me was that her attachment style was chaotic and disorganized. And so she would the bear with me and like try to start fights because that's what she's used to. She knows what a fight looks like. She gets yelled at, she gets in trouble, she gets sent to her room. And so she would just poke and poke and poke. And so when I finally realized that that's what she was doing, was pulling me into the chaos, I don't like the chaos. That's not familiar for me. So I was finally just like, you're going to be uncomfortable and I'm just going to love you and we're going to make it through this, right? Like let's figure out what is comforting and what's not. So
it is fascinating to hear from a parent who is able to hold that space for the child, because I remember, so as a foster child, that to me was like the hardest fucking thing in the world. Like you're supposed to have this connection to your mother and this connection to your father, and it's like connection to self, connection to the world, connection to like the ability to connect with others. And there was no sense of self for me a lot of times. Like I was very much, what can I micromanage? What can I control? Who can I take care of? What can I cling to? A lot of times it was school and my friends. But I remember my dad would say to me, he would say like, you just keep jumping up and down on the self-destruct button, just like your mother, which of course I was super defensive about because I loved my mom. Like, why would you say that about my mom? But he would say, and I remember like his hand being held out and he would say, you just hold people out to here. And he would have his palm up in front of me and he would be like, and then you do these things, you have no common sense and you just test people and you test people to see if they're going to love you, to see if they're going to love you. And he's like, you're hurting no one but yourself. You hold the keys to the kingdom and you just keep doing these things to get in trouble. And I see what he's saying now. I'm like, okay, yeah, like the logic is there. I was testing people. I was like, will someone please love me? Will someone please hold space
Mhm.
for me? This is the only way I know how to seek that. I'm trying to get connection here.
Right.
Like, someone meet me halfway. But what I was met with felt instead like shame and like I was wrong for doing it. I was doing it in all the wrong
Mhm.
ways. And so my dad ended up being this big, scary monster to me for such a long time because that is what I was getting. I was getting shame. I
Yeah.
was getting like, no, I'm not going to connect with you. You're not worthy of connection. You're doing it all wrong. And then guess what,
Mhm.
Emily? I grew up to act the same way as him towards people that I loved. And I'm like then the shame spiral and the self-hatred. And so
Mhm.
I'm glad she's in therapy and I'm glad she has you because that was hard. It was really fucking hard.
Yeah, yeah. And just so because she had had so many placements before us, and she was actually placed with her biological brother. We had both of them for a period of time, and then he unfortunately was not able to stay safe, and they ended up having to have a sib split. That's a whole other story of trauma that is terrible, and we're still working through in therapy, both her and I. But we had to take this class called Trust-Based Relational Intervention, TBRI, and it has four main components. It's based off of the fact that children's behaviors are communication, right?
Mm,
Anytime a child is acting out, they're communicating something. Anytime you would push buttons and keep people away, but then want them to be close, you were communicating, I need you to move past my barriers and hold space for me. I need you to do this and hold space for my barriers, right? And so the four parts are see the need, meet the need, keep calm, and don't give up. And that's just like the four things that we have. Like, I still have the little magnet that I keep on our fridge, and it, like, there were so many times where, like, I have to go back to that keep calm, keep calm, keep calm,
yeah.
right? Because when you have that child that is communicating, I'm used to chaos, and then they're coming to you and are trying to pull you into the chaos, like, okay, what do you actually need? Right? And it was so wild to me that there were times where she would come in and would just be all out of sorts, and I could just be like, hold on, do you need a hug? And do
Mm,
you know how many times we stopped arguing because we took a break to take a hug,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't even count the times. And we still do that. She's 14. And if she comes in and is just like hyped up from school, I'm just like, do you need a hug? And she's just like, yes, I do. Right.
Mm,
And then we do like the 20-second hug where we just like hold each other for 20 seconds. Suddenly our brain is producing serotonin and dopamine, and we're able to feel happy again. So yeah, that was a huge turning point in, like, my parenting journey, was realizing, that there is a need that they're communicating. Sometimes it's as simple as connection,
hmm
because when connection's what you're missing, it's in math hierarchy, it's that third level: food and water, and then safety and belonging, and
Safety.
then
Yeah.
connection.
I
If I can
remember.
make I was just going to say, if I can make her feel safe, then I know that.
Yep. I remember when I realized that I like in my parenting, the reason that I was struggling was because I was repeating what I had known from my parents. And the moment that was hard enough, number one, because it's different to be in victim mode and then to be in awareness mode. It's like, okay,
Mm,
now I don't know what to do. So then the next step of that was it's not continuing to blame anyone or to wallow or to cry that you don't know what to do. Now, mind you, I did have to do a lot of crying that I didn't know what to do. That was important.
hmm
I remember crying in the kitchen floor one day because I was just like, I have no idea how to be a mom and I'm trying and this is hard. And they're mirroring back to me all the ways that I feel like I've already failed them. So not taking it personally and not blaming anyone else. And then having to like scoop myself up off the floor. There wasn't even any picking up of like bone structure to
hmm
keep moving. It was like scoop the puddle up and keep going. And when you said that about the hugs, I was like, there's a hair flying in here for my kitten. My daughter, thankfully, was able to communicate to me one day that she needed a hug. That was foreign to me. When I tell you that as a child, the only time I ever got hugs was after a 2, 4, 6 hour lecture and that then a hug was offered at the end. And then
Yeah.
they would make fun of me and they would be like, oh, she doesn't like hugs. Don't hug her. And it's not that I didn't like hugs. It's that I didn't get them unless there was pain involved too. And so then they would try to come hug me at other times and I would like do this and they would be like, okay, side hug
hmm
then and laugh about it. Like, thank God my daughter was able to, like, when I asked her, like, honey, what do you need? Like, what can I do to help? Do you just need me to listen? Like, I don't want to keep butting heads. I don't want to keep misunderstanding each other. What can I do for you?
Mm-hmm.
Kids are so wise. She was like, can I just have a hug? And I was like, yeah, like that's it. And she's like, yeah. And so we hugged, and then she felt better after. And I was just like, what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
But now,
Yeah.
like you said, now we do that and it helps me too. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and it's like the perfect way to co-regulate. And not a lot of people are comfortable with that, right? Because once again, it goes back to safety. If you don't feel safe with someone, you're not gonna get the connection from a hug because
Yeah.
you haven't worked through safety. So it is, yeah, we kind of switched from the whole like hugs are only like at bed before night or at night before bed and,
Hmm.
to really utilizing that as a point of connection. It made a huge difference, even with Jacob, right? Like bio kid who's had very little trauma in his life. There were times then where like he would get dysregulated and it'd just be like, "Do you want a hug?" And he was always the one that was like, "Yes."
That's Jude. That's my son, my oldest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, like looking at kids now versus looking at kids then. And I love how this conversation has centered around children because, like, there's no faster way to have me like crying in a heap is over kids, but also like fired
Mm-hmm.
up and spitting mad and like I'll go to bat. And I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
that way before because I absorbed that, kids should be seen and not heard. And kids
Mm-hmm.
need to be obedient. Kids need to listen. Kids
Mm-hmm.
need to show you respect. And I remember as a kid, I would be furious and scribbling in my journals. And I swore to myself, I would never forget what that felt like. I will never treat my kids this way. Like, I'm going to have 6 kids, which I laugh about now because I'm on number 5. And I'm like, okay, well, I think I'm done. But like, I swore I would never be that way. And then life happened and I started to be that way. And thankfully, I was able to catch it, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
night and day now when I think about how I used to view children, and it was like, that's not actually how I viewed children. That's what I was convinced of myself as a child. So that's what I
Yeah.
was carrying around with me as my perspective.
Right.
So when my perspective shifted into kids are magical and they need to be protected, like this is beautiful, they're teaching us
Mm-hmm.
things. That meant that I
Right.
had to believe that about myself as a child too. And that
Right.
was a lot of grief.
I went to a metaphysical fair a couple weeks ago and it was fantastic.
That
But
sounds
one
cool.
of the things that one of the readers had mentioned was that kids, like babies, are born as an open slate and they come in with all of this like just wisdom of the universe that they don't know is wrong
Yep.
and they're not shut off to it until adults shut them down,
Yep.
right? And so it's interesting, like looking at that, like we were talking about being put in a box, right? And like cutting parts of yourself off to fit into this box that religion says, that old parenting style say, all of this. It's definitely like when you take that box away and just let a child be, like they are wise little things, right? Like they ultimately know what they need. And if you teach them to communicate that, right? Then you have the kid that comes up and says, "I just need a hug,"
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
These
wow.
these are things that they innately know that they want. It's just teaching them how to say it.
Yeah. And a lot of times they don't know that they know that that's what they want. So, like, I've
Mm-hmm.
had to really remind myself because one of my coping mechanisms was like intellectualizing everything. I mean, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so everything had to make sense and there had to be a pattern and there had to be logic. And with parenting, that kind of has to go out the window sometimes because they don't know that they know the logic and the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's literally holding space for them figuring that out, which is messy, which is
Yep.
confusing as hell to watch sometimes because it's just like, okay, I know that this is gonna we're gonna follow this through to the end and I'm gonna be there with you. But right now it's like, whew, like you said before, like don't give up, don't take it personally, take a
Mm-hmm.
breath, calm down. And yeah, I personally think that number one, because that's really hard to do. Number two, because a lot of us didn't get it. I think that's a big
Mm-hmm.
chunk of like what's wrong out there and why people struggle
Yeah.
so much. And I think it's important that people who do get it can get that message out and can talk about it in ways that aren't
Mhm.
shaming and aren't pathologizing everything and holding space for
Right.
the adults to go through that process.
Right. That's a lot of the work that I feel like I do with adults is like reparenting their inner child. Just because, there were so many ways. And I also want to throw this out there that most of our parents were trying to do the best that they could at the time that they were, right. Like I can give space for that if
Yeah.
that's there, right? If you can
Hmm.
tell that they were doing their best to do what they could to survive and to raise children, like I can hold space for that. But they didn't know these things, and there wasn't anyone trying to teach them these things, and so we got the brunt end of that,
Yeah.
right? Like we got they're doing their best type thing, and now we have to work through, all of that. I think I have a client that had a pretty like verbally abusive parent that doesn't even recognize that they're verbally abusive. And so for me, it was like, let's talk through this. Like you are now able to name this what it is. You're able to name this. They're not going to, because to them they were just doing what they had to survive, and they thought that they did a great job with you. Look at how successful you are. Of course they did a great job.
Yeah.
But
That's so hard.
and trying to work through that anger of I turned out okay because of me, not because of you,
Mhm.
right? Like that's a big piece of that reparenting is trying to hold space for them that they did what they could and they probably gave us their best, right? Their best just wasn't enough.
Yeah. A lot of times it's like kind of still waiting for that validation that's probably never going to come.
Mhm.
You've got to be able to give that
Yep.
to yourself and let the rest be what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. I was about to say something a minute ago. So, cool story about this show. So, I did not want to say that my podcast was for women healing from narcissistic abuse or narcissistic relationships because
Mhm.
I believe that we all have narcissistic tendencies kind of on a spectrum, and we need some
Mhm.
of those. Some of us like really dive into those sometimes when we're trying to like get out of uncomfortable feelings, and some of us go the
Yeah.
ass end opposite direction, and we're like, my God, it's all about you. There is no me. So I don't ever want to like put a label on anyone or be like, they're a narcissist. Like, I don't like that. However, when I was realizing what I went through and I finally like found all the stuff that talks about narcissistic abuse, narcissistic traits, like that is the hot button buzzword right now, but it made sense and it helped me finally say, oh, something makes sense. So there was like this period of diving into that and understanding what was happening there, like the dynamic. But
Yeah.
there's also a danger zone, I feel, of staying in that place. And all these like Instagram accounts of just like the narc always does this and the narc always does that. And it's like one of my research topics for school was actually the fact that these healing communities can become echo chambers of the same trauma. Like you've got to get out of it.
Mhm.
So this show, the reason that I called it what it is and have the keywords that I do is so that it will find those people that were where I was, right?
Right.
But some of the things that we dive into on the show are kind of like debunking some of those things. So it's like, hey,
Mhm.
come listen because this makes sense and this will validate what you've been through. And we're also going to learn more than that. We're going to go beyond that. We're going to go past that. So
Right.
I say all of that to say, with what you do, I'm wondering, with the expertise that you have and the experience that you've had, like all the context that you've had,
Mhm.
where do you fall on this? Like, what's your opinion in terms of narcissistic abuse and what that means for recovery for people?
This is a super interesting question. First off, when I was in my psychodiagnosis and assessments class, which I had to take in my master's programming, I had this wonderful professor, Seth Westcott, but he had done assessments on. He did a lot of like the higher psychological trauma assessments and had worked with legitimate psychopaths, with legitimate narcissists. And he was when we talked about like the criteria for diagnosing someone as a narcissist with narcissistic personality disorder, he made the statement that it's kind of like ADHD. We all have the traits to some extent. It's just not until you get to the disordered, that it's messing up all of these different traits or all of these different facets of your life, that it becomes a disorder. And he even went so far as to say, like, as a therapist, you have to be a bit narcissistic. You have to believe that these people can come and sit in your presence for 50 minutes and heal themselves because of you. Like, there's a part of you that, like, and every single person has that in some way or shape, right?
Yep.
Like, just like you said, there's that continuum of some people are like, yep, got to put on my confidence and I'm going to, walk into this room and I'm going to own it because I can, right? Like, there's a little bit of that. And then there is also that other side of, like, there's people that are just going to fawn, right? Because that is their survival mechanism. So to answer your question, yes, I absolutely agree. Like, I think that I hesitate to be like, yes, the person that you're dealing with is absolutely a narcissist. I think that there is a lot of narcissistic abuse because it is abuse from a person acting from a place of narcissism, but they could be on the spectrum way over here where they're overcompensating for whatever they need. The thing that I see in my work is they're overcompensating for their trauma. It was done to them, right? Like, that's that's a big theme of, like, it was done to them. They don't know any different. And that's how they're parenting, or that's how they're living day to day. It's a survival mechanism almost. And I do think that people can get into that. Like, it's really easy once you put a label on it to really lean into that label, but it can be also detrimental, because if you're just like, yep, this happened to me because they're a narcissist. Okay, but what work are you doing to push through that?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And there is, like, yes, it's terrible that this happened to you. And yes, you should absolutely feel the validation and now having an answer of why this happened to you. But also, don't let that continue to drag you down. Like, it is okay to step out of this and say, I am a narcissistic abuse survivor and I am moving forward. Right? Like, don't put yourself into the box and just stay there, because it's easy and it's safe, and it's the same but a different box that they've been trying to put you in all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, I like to think of it as like gaslighting yourself. Like, there's no one here to do it for you now. And that's so comfortable for you that now you're just going to go out in the world and you're going to do it yourself. No one has to do it for you anymore. And I think sometimes too, that's why I got into relationships that mirrored that, because then I was finding someone else to keep doing that, because that's what was so familiar for me. And I will say too, like, in terms of when you said, like, people are treating you this way, I hesitate to say, like, that's a narcissist. What they're doing, to me, I think, a really important indicator of growth in the relationship, because I get a lot of women who are in relationships, like romantic relationships. So I, of course, love to dig into, like, the patterns that came before that and, like, what other relationships have been like this. But a lot of questions are like, should I leave this relationship? Should I stay or should I go? And I think a big thing is, if the patterns keep repeating and the person is not becoming aware of it and trying to get a handle on it, trying to do the work to, like, okay, this coping mechanism sucks, in my opinion. Like, what can I do to feel better about it? A big thing for me when I was in the abuse was trying to force my perspective on the other person and convince them to change and convince them to do it, because it was hurting me. And it's like, that comes across as micromanaging and controlling at that point, right? Like, it's got to be two people who are wanting to have that growth and development to some degree, because that's what a relationship is, right? Like, we're both people, we're both growing. So I love how you shared that. Like, you don't want to call them a narcissist, but, like, what are they doing? What's happening here? That's important.
Yeah. And, adding on that of, like, you are putting in so much work to change this person. What happens if you turn around and put that work into yourself, right? Like,
I know, right?
yeah. Think about putting that energy into yourself to heal those things that have happened to you, to reparent your inner child, to go through and, take out the approach that manager that's coming in and, micromanaging everything. Approach that with curiosity. What happens if this doesn't happen? What happens if, it don't have control of that? Right? What's the fear, the thing, and just staying curious and asking questions about it. That's also, like, that's the big theme in, like, internal family systems therapy is doing a lot of the, like, they're literally managers that come in and are taking over, but they come in out of the fear of being hurt, the fear of being left behind or something.
Yep. Yeah. And going into that fear, like when you said, like, what happens if I don't do this? Speaking from experience here, when you're in that moment, when you're in that place of micromanaging, controlling, managing the other people's emotions, your emotions, the relationship, all of it, thinking about what would happen if you stopped doing that is like terrifying. Going into
Right.
that fear, going into that is like, now you've opened the can of worms. Now you're really getting into the healing, because this isn't just about this person. It's not just about
Yeah.
what they did 2 days ago that you're still upset about, or what they did last week and now they're repeating it. Like it's not about that. It's like, let's dig into the what would happen if you stopped X, Y, and Z. That fear.
Right.
That's the part of you that you're trying to get to. So it's kind of a, I don't know if you would call it a catch-22, but it's ironic because I'm never going to tell a person everything that happened to you is for a reason. There was a purpose for your suffering. I don't like that. But I will
Yep.
say, you went through what you went through and it sucked. I mean, it sucked
Mhm.
and it hurt. And I'm so sorry that happened to you. What do you want to do now? How do you want to feel now? Like, how do you want to move forward after that? And for a long
Yeah.
time, I wasn't listening to that myself, right? So
Right.
going into that fear, encouraging people who are listening right now, like Emily knows what she's saying here, and it's scary. She's not saying it's not.
Yep. I tell all of my clients and in my informed consent, look, therapy is one of those things, like it's going to get worse before it gets worse, right? Like you've got to go through the suck and sit in the suck before you can come out the other side. And the hardest thing about therapy is that it's a lot of work that you don't even recognize that you're doing it, right? And whenever I have really hard, really heavy sessions with clients, I straight up tell them, what are you doing the rest of the day? Cancel it. Right? Like if you can't cancel it, what can you do to pour back into your cup? Because like the neural connections that you are forming when you do this work is physically exhausting. And a lot of people don't take that into consideration because it's just therapy. I'm just talking and chatting with someone, right? Like I should be able to walk out and be perfectly fine. No, like you're literally healing your brain. Like you are rewiring your brain. And if you go to the gym and work out for an hour on any machine, you're gonna rest that muscle the rest of the day. Rest your brain. Give your brain a break, right? Your brain and your heart too, right?
Yeah. And get some sleep. Get some sleep because this cannot
Yes.
work without sleep.
Yeah, and that being like the number one indicator of like poor mental health. Yeah, because I can't tell you how many, like I should know this right off the top of my head, but the majority of DSM diagnoses, like, are they getting proper sleep? Nope, that's a criteria. Are they getting proper sleep? Nope, that's a criteria,
That's
right?
an
Like,
important point. People should
it
listen to
is.
this. Like,
Yes, yeah. Sleep because it's rest for all of your muscle systems and it's a reset that your body needs every single day. That's why you have a circadian rhythm. Like you need sleep.
yeah. And we have, we have the screens now and we have so much artificial lighting and people spend so much time not ever being in nature. We have caffeine everywhere and it's like they're not required to put how much caffeine is in a product, right? Like
Right.
our kids are consuming caffeine, like, and
I'm the really unfair mom. I didn't let my kids have caffeine until they were like 14.
that's a good mom.
They did not think so. And they absolutely hated it, but I know what that does to a growing and developing brain. And I had no problem even with Jacob at 5 and 6. I think one time he grabbed somebody else's drink at like 6, and that was the first time he'd ever had Coke. And he was just like, wow. And then it was like, run, 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 crack.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my 5-year-old recently, somebody said, I don't know if they said Coke or something, and he was like, Mama, what's that? And I was like, oh my gosh, you don't even need to know what that is. Like, it's a soda, honey, because we have, he has like an Ollie Pop sometimes, and we call them soda. So when I say
Yeah.
soda, then he's like, ooh, I want that. And I'm like, maybe one day. That's a little bit different than what we usually get.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really popular in high school to drink the Alanis and the Monsters and Red Bulls. And of course, like I did that. But
Yeah.
my kids know that I don't want them drinking them. And for the most part, they don't, which both kids have ADHD. And so it has the opposite effect where it just tires them out. So, fingers crossed
But what
they'll
is it?
never get into the.
Go ahead. They'll never get into.
Fingers crossed they'll never get into a caffeine addiction, but
That's what I was
it's
going to
gonna
ask. Like,
happen.
it's still doing the same thing in the body, right? And the addiction can still form, even though,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You just it so it's kind of like how stimulants work. So taking Ritalin, your brain is like your neurons are firing at such a rapid rate. When you have caffeine, it seems like it would just like explode, right? But it literally like counteracts it and just makes it like nice and I don't know, normal,
Yeah,
the neurotypical level.
yeah.
But for somebody who has that neuroatypical brain, like that doesn't it so it either feels really good or it feels really bad because it's too different. So
Mm.
we are very open and honest about caffeine usage in my house, and I most of the time discourage my kids from it.
I think that's really healthy because so many people don't realize that caffeine is a drug because it's so
Hmm.
normalized and it's everywhere. And like, I'm going to talk
Hmm.
to my kids about other things, other drugs, sex, like
Yeah,
other things that can be coping mechanisms. I want to be open about it. I don't
right.
want to demonize it or shame them or have it be some
Hmm.
secret thing that they have to go open Pandora's
Right.
box when they turn 18, right? So I think it's really
Hmm.
smart that you do it that way.
Yeah. Well, and I tell my kids, Nevaeh's bio parents have really long histories of addiction on both sides. And so we talk really openly about what addiction is, what it looks like, where it starts, and I'm trying not to say like don't do it ever, you're going to get hooked, but she realistically could be one of the cases that tries it once and is addicted because that her brain is going to be like, wow, I see all the colors and everything is magical, and she's going to go through the rest of her life trying to find that. And so we talk about that, like the first time you do drugs, they might be really cool, right? And the next time, still cool. But at some point, it's not going to be fun and your body's going to wear out from it. And sex is an addiction, caffeine is an addiction, alcohol can be an addiction, even like there are lots of arguments about it, but like even marijuana usage, right? Like you can be addicted to using the substance to ignore the pain and the feelings. And that, in that case, even apps and games and anything can be an addiction if you're doing it too much.
Yeah, this honestly, this took a really interesting turn for me. Hang on. Hey, Nova, I love that you have a flashlight. Hey, listen, I need you to you either got to be quiet or you got to go downstairs. Which one? That one. Okay. Can you play with it quietly? Hey, hang on.
You're fine.
Come here. Look, we're gonna wrap this up. This call is almost done, but I'm gonna take you back downstairs just for the ending of the call. Okay? Here. You can come back up in like 5 minutes. It won't take that long, I promise. Ooh, let me get your drink. Oh, there's dirt on your drink. And plant. Come right down here. Okay. I don't know how many minutes we have realistically before she runs back up, but we have at least two.
Okay.
I love that we dove into addiction a little bit because I remember the first time I smoked. It was awful. I hated it. It made me so sick. I freaked out. I was like, this is bad. And then I tried it again because that's what my mom did. That's what my
Mhm.
stepmom did. I'm sure that's what my dad did, but I saw him with like different mechanisms. My girlfriend wanted to try again. Her mom did. Her dad did. Like, and so it was this culture that it was like, okay, this is normal. This is what we do. And it was
Mhm.
spoken about. It was open. This is what we do. So I tried it again. And then I tried it again, and it got easier and easier and better and better. So it's interesting thinking that, like, maybe the first time for someone could be like, wow, this is so
Mhm.
awesome. Now, I will say there's been other things in my life and other experiences in my life that the first time I tried it, I was like, wow, this is awesome, right? 10 out of
Mhm.
10 definitely will become addicted. But, that was like chasing that feeling, like you said, like, oh, okay. And
Mhm.
so it reeled me in. Then there's even the other version of that for me of like, this isn't even that great. And yet I'm still going to do it, even though it's self-destructive. And that tendency was
Right.
there too. And, I shared a post on Facebook many years ago that said trauma is the gateway drug. And you commented on it. And this lady was really upset. And she was like, how could you say that? My son became an addict. And da da da. And we're like, listen, we're not saying that you're an awful mom that traumatized your son to hell and back, and that's why he did this, this, and this. We're saying like there was a propensity there. There was a reason that he was seeking something. There's a reason that he
Mhm.
wanted to not be present or not be fully embodied in that moment. And I think it's important that we have these conversations, because even my first time with certain things, it wasn't awesome. And I still dove
Right.
into it anyway.
Yeah, yeah. And it's solely that, like, if you sometimes you're looking for anything
Yeah.
to feel,
Yep.
right? Because if you are so numb from all of the things that have happened to you, even a increasingly bad feeling is a feeling.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Like I heard Dak Shepard, his armchair expert
Oh, yeah.
podcast,
Yeah.
when he had Nadine Burke Harris,
Mhm.
love her, by the way. When he had her on, he was talking about how he had a friend that had eventually OD'd and they were like best friends growing up. But he started huffing gasoline and he was like, it's the worst high you'll ever have. But he was doing it because literally nothing else made him feel.
Uh,
Right. And like how much trauma had that kid been through that something as terrible as huffing gasoline and getting high from that was something to feel.
yeah. That made my
Yeah.
chest hurt. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
true. It's true. And like, even for me, like when I was 18, 17, 18, kleptomania. Why in the
Mm-hmm.
world, right? And I went to jail for it. And then they were like, okay, well, someone's got to bail you out. And I was like, I'll bail me out. And they're like, you had the money in your wallet the whole time? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, then why did you do that? And I was like, I have no idea. I don't know.
The excitement, the rush, right? Adrenaline is adrenaline. And sometimes there's different ways of getting adrenaline.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
feel like we could
if
have
your
a whole
brain,
nother.
yep, if your brain is used to having the adrenaline pumping, it's once again that chaos is familiar to you. So you're going to
Mm-hmm.
search that out.
Yeah, it's like a freaking morphine addiction. Come off
Mm-hmm.
of it and suddenly either everything hurts too much or everything is too dull, and you've got to have that,
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I say that like from my own experience, not that it's crazy that it happens or that it's crazy that people do that. I say it's crazy in terms of like, I can put myself right back in that spot and remember the feelings and remember what I was doing. And even remember this sense of like, I don't want to be doing this. Why am I doing this? And then doing it.
Right. Yeah. Because your brain was so hardwired that that was what you felt. That was what gave you feelings to escape other feelings or whatever, whether you were running to something to feel or away from feeling something.
Yeah. And a lack
That
of
was the easiest way.
there were no other examples for me to follow that I could grasp onto in that moment, right? Like I think a positive role model could go such a long way in a person's life, even just one.
Yep. You have adverse childhood experiences. Now they have figured out that there are positive childhood experiences that counteract them almost at like a one-to-one level. And having a non-family adult that is invested in you specifically is such a huge positive experience that it can kind of counteract that trauma.
That makes so much sense, like in terms of like ish for me.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share on this one that I didn't dig into, do you think? Or were you kind of just like, we'll see where it goes?
Yeah. I
All
was
right.
just gonna let you ask the things and get to whatever we
I
got
was
to.
just so excited to talk to you. I was like getting ready this morning and I was kind of in a rush because I slept late. I've been up late lately. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't even want to ask podcast questions. Like I just want to catch up, and this is good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Anytime you need extra content, let me know.
For sure. So
Okay.
it's very interesting to me though that people that we went to school with are married. And there's still that part of me that like wants to talk to them and be like, do you really like each other? You've been together so long. Like, what is your relationship
Yeah.
like? Do you guys fight? Are you just together for the
Mhm.
kids? Like, I don't know if that's weird, but it's the same part of me that drives past people's houses at night. And if they have the lights on and the windows open, I'm like, ooh, I wonder what their house looks like.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
Okay, good.
Me and Sam 1,000% got married because we had Jacob, and the first like 5 to 7 years of our marriage were absolute hell because I wanted to be in a relationship with him, but he didn't really care if he was in a relationship with me. And then around year 5, when I was like, all right, I'm getting my bachelor's, I am about to commit to where I want to live and job and all of this stuff. Then he was like, wait a minute, I actually like her. Like, I want to keep her around. And so, like, now we're besties. But,
Okay.
like, the first 5 to 7 years of our marriage were hell.
Yeah.
Like I think I was always way more invested in it than he was until he hit that point, and then he was like, "Wait a minute, I do like her." We literally like we used to go on dates like those first 5 years. We didn't have it literally took us about 7 years to have a date where I didn't cry.
Bless it. Oh my God.
We were not good together back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took us a long time to get into it. I mean, now we're like practically codependent, like in the almost healthiest way
Is he
possible.
still kind of an asshole? And like, I figure if he is, that plays off of you very well.
So I have raised his emotional quotient, his EQ, quite a bit just because, so I don't know if you know this, but therapists have the highest rate. The therapy programs, like master's programs, have the highest rate of divorce than any other program, because as a therapist you're going through and you're doing your own work and you're like growing so much so fast. That my program was specifically like, bring your partner to class, take them along with you, tell them everything that you're learning, or you will be divorced by the end of this program.
Wow. Where
Yeah.
was this? This was your master?
Yeah, went to Mid-America Nazarene University.
I'm gonna go there.
Yeah, listen, hands down, the best, absolute best program I could have ever found. Because they do the clinical side. So I went into clinical mental health, thinking that I would work in a like residential program or something like that, in a more clinical setting than private practice. But I went in looking for this more clinical thing, this more clinical side, and clear cut and CBT, very, very brain centered and thoughts, behaviors, that's it. And they have so much of a feeling side that it was like, why is everybody not doing this? Why is everybody not talking about the feelings that lead them to the behaviors and the emotions, right? Like, why are we missing this huge piece? Yeah. So when they specifically said your partner along, I was like, well, we've already been through hell in a handbasket. I'd like for us to continue. So he's still super abrasive. That's what we call it.
Oh, abrasive. Okay. Not an asshole.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I call him. I got him. He doesn't like it when I call him an asshole. I got him a bracelet for Christmas one time that was like Morse code, and it said asshole, and he was like, "Why do you always call me that?" And I was like, Because you're abrasive."
Case doesn't like when
No,
I call him baby daddy, so I get it. I'm like, but you are.
yeah. I mean,
So,
Sam hated the juice box label for the longest time. Yeah.
okay. Oh man. Okay. Yeah. Somebody else I recently was like, damn, they've been together forever. Shit, I can't remember who it was. It was not somebody that I would message and be like, hey, do you like your spouse? Like, really?
Man,
Like,
I don't
you
know. I have noticed over the years, especially when I was in college and very liberal and loud about it, my like friends list has dwindled from the high school people because I am a bit much, right? And so I feel like I don't know, I probably only have like a couple dozen people from high school that I still talk to at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it like all of our like band people and
I
weird
think
people?
the only
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then so it's all of them, and then randomly Chelsea, I don't know what her last name is now.
Blake is her
then
husband's name, but I can't remember their last name.
Yep.
Blake.
Yep. And
That's right.
then Brittany, she's
Okay,
one of
yeah, yeah,
those
yeah.
that I'm pretty sure they got together in high school, and she's one of those that I wonder,
Yeah.
like,
That maybe that's who it was that I saw the other day. I saw yeah,
Yeah.
because I saw a picture of him with their kid, and I was like, they've been together for a long time, and I did not expect those two to get together. I'm like, interesting. Yeah, I'm not. The kids are back at Ohatchee now because after Jubal got them, he put them in White Plains, and then they liked it enough. I mean, they had been homeschooled, so they didn't love it. They were like, "This is for the birds, Mom. Like, this is stupid. These kids are none of them can function at all." And I'm like, "Yeah, sorry." But they got used to it and they liked it. And then 6 months later, he moved them and put them in Ohatchee, and they hate it. They're like, this is hokey. This is awful. And I'm like, I know, but you're going to be okay. I went there too.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I was famous for being the gay kid. So, which that was a whole, I don't know if everyone knows, but you guys know I didn't drop out, right? You guys know that my dad withdrew me and made me quit school.
Until you
I didn't know if
made
I
a
ever
post about it.
Okay. Okay. I couldn't remember because I remember they let me go in the class to say goodbye. And that was it. I left. And I don't think I ever even, I think Tiffany was even confused and was like, "What do you mean by where are you going?" So,
Yeah.
and she didn't confirm it. So that's a no.
Oh my God. Did you know that me and Casey had a falling out?
No.
She moved. I rented a car, drove to Alabama, rented a car for a one way. Okay, that's expensive. And so I drove to Alabama, helped her move up here, literally drove her car out of the state of Alabama, and then was like literally drove her here. She lived in my house, with me, Sam, and Jacob, um, from like 2016 to 2018. She ended up moving William in. Yeah, because her and William were together for a couple of
I
years, and so
remember
she moved
that.
him in. And then in 2018, before we got the kids, we were like, "Hey guys, like you've got to move out. Like we can't move forward in our adoption journey unless you like move out." And so they moved out and into an apartment, and they had already been on the rocks, and then they broke up. But they still moved into an apartment together. And then within like a week, she moved Jonathan, which was, you remember Matt, her long-term boyfriend, Matt? It was Matt's cousin. She moved him up here to live with her and William. And William was like in hell because he thought that there was a chance of them getting back together. But then she moves this other guy into their apartment together. And so William got in good with my neighbors because we used to have like a really tight neighborhood. My neighbors at the time were absolutely phenomenal. We still talked with them like that. They are friends with neighbors up the street. Like we have parties all the time. And so William was still hanging out with them and decided that he wanted to start going out with one of the girls up the street. And Casey had told me on numerous occasions that she hated this girl, like just did not like her. Um, and then when William gets interested in her, suddenly Casey is the damsel, and oh my God, how dare you date one of my best friends? And I straight up called her out. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've heard you talk so much shit on her. Like, what is this? And she did not like that. And so we had already kind of quit talking. And then in March of 2020, literally the exact day that we got a text from the school saying school is shut down due to COVID for the foreseeable future, is the day that I loaded Nevaeh's biological brother into a car and he left, and we have seen him once since. So the kids and Sam are living with Sam's dad for 2 weeks, 20 days, whatever it was supposed to be. And Casey worked at the school that my kids went to, and she's close with the kids. And so we had just been kind of sort of friends, like seeing each other in passing, but not really working to mend any friendship. And she would only ever come over when Sam was home or if Sam was around. Like she would never come over if it was just me. And I thought that it was because she wasn't comfortable around me. So we're separated for COVID. She has paperwork. She drives past my house 20 minutes south to Gardner where the kids are staying, and the kids aren't there. Mark and the kids had gone somewhere for whatever, and then she knocks on the door and Sam was the only person home, and so she sends him a text, "Hey, I've got the kids homework," and he was like, he didn't say anything because he was trying to ignore it. She literally stayed there like beating on the door until he came outside, and then she was like, I don't know. She was just totally invested in him. Let me know, like I can help you take care of the family, like all of this stuff. Like I'm just so concerned for you. Never once mentioned anything about me, right? Like sat there until Sam came outside, and that was when, and like Sam called me and he was like, "Hey, this happened and it was really weird, and like I don't feel comfortable with it. Like what do you think?" And I was like, "Fuck that bitch. She's dead to me. Like we're not fucking friends anymore. She can excommunicate herself from my life, my kids' lives, your life. We're done. Like she can fucking forget my name." And I have seen her 2 times since then. Once I literally almost ran into her in Hobby Lobby, and she had some random guy with her, and I didn't even say anything. I just walked around. And then I saw her one time. We both pulled into there's a Walmart, like neighborhood market, little Walmart. We both pulled in there at the same time. She literally went right back out and left. Yeah. So she lives less than a mile from me. She works at the school that both of my kids went to still to this day. Like I see her car up there all the time. I have not talked to her
What
since
in the
2020.
world?
I had always thought that she was a little bit too buddy with Sam, and it was the same shit with Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing that ultimately ended mine and Teresa's friendship, was they were just a little bit too close to Sam for my comfort. And like, I want to be like this, like, I want to be all like new age, and like, if other people like Sam, that's fine. But like, I know he's mine.
That's how I
Like,
am.
I'm a little
No, I get
territorial.
it. Me and Chase are still legally married, but we're not actually together and haven't been for years. We live
I was
together, we
wondering about
co-parent.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize. So this happened with Meg and it also happened with Jubal. But so apparently my Venus is in Virgo. My best friend told me that recently. And she's like, so when you love hard and you love innocently. But when you're done, you're fucking done. Like, don't cross me. And so that happened with Meg and Jubal, because the moment they started showing attention to other people, other women, I was like, I don't know what happened. It was like someone flipped a switch in me and I couldn't turn it back on. And the same thing happened with Chase, because he constantly kept putting his female best friend Sam before me and didn't realize that she was in love with him. And I realized it and I'm like, dude. But then he did it in a couple of workplaces too. And it wasn't romantic. It was just him needing female attention, which I can intellectualize. I get it. Like, well, look at what happened with your mom. Makes sense. But my heart doesn't care. It still hurt my feelings and it broke my trust. And no matter what I do, my nervous system is like, this guy is a threat. This guy is danger. And so he has these like behavioral cycles, which we all do, but he isn't aware of his. And so I have to point them out every single time. And so years of doing that, and what it is that he's not in any way attuned to the kids. And he doesn't realize that he's not attuned to the kids. He just like the emotional, it's not there, the connection. I think the ability is there, but I think that he would have to dig through some stuff and be able to connect in that way. And so when I see it, I point it out. And then he's like, okay, gosh, like, I'm going to work on that because I don't want to be inconsistent for them. I don't want to be empty for them. Like, I want to be with them. But I keep having to point it out. And I keep having to point it out. And I keep having to, and I'm like, this is not a relationship for me. This is not fun for me. Yeah. This is not really good for the kids either. Yeah. And so once we are like financially able, we'll separate. We're not quite able to yet, but we also are to the point where like we're friends and we do have a routine. Like we watch an episode while we eat dinner and he does certain parts of the housework and I do certain parts of the housework. So we work well together. Right. But I just think like emotionally the compatibility isn't there. And it was in the beginning because we were so fucking codependent. So yeah.
Yeah. I like Sam always gets such a kick out of it because realistically, when it comes to me, when it comes to the kids, like Sam is the mama bear. Like he will snap and be angry in a heartbeat, right? Like that is his role in our family. If we need a defender, that is him. Yeah. But realistically, the only way that I get there is if there's a female showing attention to Sam. We went to a Christmas event a couple years ago at his work, and one of his friends' wives got shitty drunk. Like I saw her boobs that night. She was just absolutely wasted, and she kept Sam was sitting at the bar and she kept like moving in close to him and was just like laying on him. And then at one point, like I pretty much forced her out of the way and then stood in his lap and was just like standing there. Apparently all of his friends are like, your wife is super possessive. And
That's
I was
fine,
like,
though.
You don't understand how much work we have put into this relationship, how many hours of therapy and counseling we went to, like all of the dates that ended in tears. Like I went through all of that and now we're in this really good place and we're, actually not only just making it work, but like enjoying each other, talking about, what does retirement look like together, and
so weird to me. I'm like, you what?
Yeah, me and little shit can't keep beating a bucket. So,
wow. Yep. I'm over here having conversations with my best friend. She's like, do you think you'll ever date again? And I'm like, I don't know. I have boyfriends in my dreams and like they're good, But then I walk around in the world and I'm just like, I don't know if that's going to happen. I think my standards are a little too high.
Yep. Well, and I don't know, like if God forbid something happened to Sam and I'm left, I tell him all the time, like, don't fucking leave me alone with these kids. But if something happens to him, I'm done. Like, I realized 10 years ago that I am very asexual. Like, I am okay not having sex. I am okay, like, I don't need that companionship as much. Like, I still have, like, my best friend, Laura, we call it, oh, she reminds me of you so much. Guess when her birthday
Is it Halloween?
It's Halloween!
That's crazy.
Freaking carbon copies. Even though Nevaeh's birthday is not on Halloween, Nevaeh is a freaking carbon copy. Like, y'all are just the people that I attract. It is the same person in like 3 different bodies.
Wow.
I got to get you all 3 together. You would like shit bricks. Y'all are so similar. Yeah, we make jokes all the time about, like, Laura's like, don't worry, if Sam dies, we'll kill off Trevor, which is her husband. We'll kill off Trevor and we'll take the insurance money and we'll just raise the kids. And we'll go out in the middle of the forest and live in the forest and raise goats and chickens.
Do you remember when we were talking about having a dome in Alaska and like farming in Alaska?
Dude, that's still on my bucket list, apparently.
Yep.
It might have switched from Alaska to Colorado just because Alaska's real cold. Colorado is also real cold.
Even Alabama is too cold for me. I'm like, but I love that I can turn my heat on now. I'm like, ooh,
yes,
cozy. Shit, I was gonna say something. I don't remember. So I gotta run them to their dad. I want to have you back on. But if you want anything like links or anything in the show notes, just email them to me, send them to me, because when this is done editing, I'll send you reels. I don't know if you do social media for your practice.
I've been thinking about doing one for Lemon. Oh, she's asleep on my bed. Doing a therapy puppy. Well, I started one for Olive. But...
I know. I saw that after I sent the first email and I was like, oh my God, I have to send another email.
Well, I'm just glad that, like, I had the time. I was a hot mess. I did not realize how, like, dependent I was on a dog for all of my, like, my own mental health and regulation.
Yeah, I get it. I still have Nora. She's like 13 and she just follows me around. So I get it.
I still have Leia, my first therapy dog, but yeah, I really wanted another dog for Leia to imprint on. Leia is not the biggest fan of Lemon because she just went through the puppy phase.
Yeah, we got Lila for Nora, and Lila gets on her damn nerve. Lila gets on everybody's nerves, but I love her so much. But I'm here anytime. Like, message me. I'm here doing my thing. Okay. It was good to see you.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for spending time in the Reclamation Room. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if this supported you, consider sharing it or leaving a review. You're not alone, and your reclamation is sacred.
Bro, this isn't gonna work.